Hi guys, and welcome back to today's video. If you're new here, my name's Shannon. I'm a mum of one to a little girl called Esme. She's currently 5 months old, which has just gone by so fast. But if you're returning to watch another video, then thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So today I thought I'd do a video about exclusively pumping. So if you don't know what that is, it basically means that Esme is exclusively breastfed. So I can't breastfeed just because she is tube fed at the minute. She's got a nasal gastric tube in her nose. That is due to having a cleft palate and also Pierre-Robin sequence. So I think I have done other videos speaking about that if you don't know what that is, but basically it just means that her jaw is reassessed and her tongue is further back in her mouth. So basically if she was to feed orally, she gets really tired, so that's why she's currently tube fed at 5 months old still. She has been fed like that since birth. So if you can see my dogs, then they're just here with me. So basically the plan is eventually to wean her and for her to be no longer tube fed, and obviously she'll be able to drink milk from a bottle and things like that. But at the minute, because of her cleft palate, she's got no suction at all, so she has to have like squeezy bottles. Sit down, Ray. So by the way, I'm thinking about in the future doing a video called Meet My Dogs and basically talking about my story about getting my dogs, just because Rollo is actually kind of like a rescue dog. So if you're interested in that, then let me know. But yeah, that is Rollo, and then if you can see down here, this is Ollie. I don't know if you can see him down there. But anyway, as I was saying, so basically when I was pregnant with Esme, I really wanted to breastfeed. I don't really know too many of the mums, but a few that I do know have breastfed, and I really just wanted to give it a try. Like, I think you just don't really know what it's like, and I just thought that it would be the best option to try. So obviously when Esme was born, I never actually got to feed her. She was taken straight down to the special care baby unit, and she was tube fed. And she was actually fed formula just because I'd just given birth, and I did give birth at 36 weeks and my milk wasn't in, and I hadn't obviously got any expressed or anything like that, so she was given formula down her tube. So yeah, basically as soon as I got discharged from hospital the same day, I ended up hand expressing some colostrum, and then they ended up giving it to her. They were giving her like little bits in her mouth, just by like a little syringe, and it was literally just like 1 or 2 meals, if that. And basically I just continued like in the first few hours of like expressing and stuff like that, and I just never gave up really. So by like day 3 my milk had came in, and I was using the hospital grade pumps, and just ever since then, I think probably ever since ready wait a minute sit down now. So if Rollo gets on the floor, he can't get himself back on the bed, which is why he barks, because he's too fat to jump. So basically I can't remember what I was saying now, Ro. So I've been completely breastfeeding Esme ever since, really. So I just wanted to talk about some tips today, because exclusive breastfeeding, if you don't know, is really hard. Like, there has been so many times that I've just wanted to just throw the towel in and just completely give up. And if anyone does do that, then I think just don't beat yourself up. Like, it is literally so hard to exclusively pump, so I don't blame anyone that gives up, honestly. Like, it is literally, you need to do what's best for you, and the saying is that a baby that's fed is best. So however you choose to feed, whether that's formula, breastfeeding, exclusively pumping, whatever you do, or even combi feeding if you do a bit of both, it's just whatever's right for you. So I think just don't beat yourself up too much. Like, being a mum is hard enough as it is. It's like taking into account pumping as well, like that is so time consuming. So I suppose let's jump straight into it. So I'll give you a bit of my story of how it's been going, and then I've got a few tips for you guys if you're interested. So basically, like I said, I have been exclusive pumping since birth. Esme is actually just gone 5 months now. So I did work it out the other day. Roughly, say for example, if I pump for, on average, 15 minutes each time I pump. If I pump for 15 minutes to 20 minutes on average, I've actually pumped for about 11 days straight since Esme has been born, which total to more than 15,000 hours I've spent, like, I don't know, upstairs or, you know, on the sofa or whatever, pumping. And that's 15,000 hours that I haven't been able to hold Esme for. So like I just said before, like, exclusive pumping is so hard, and I completely understand it is not for everyone at all. Like, I don't even know how I'm still doing it, so it's definitely not something that I don't know if I wouldn't recommend it, but it's definitely something that's not for somebody that's struggling anyway. Like, it's just so hard. So basically taking all that into account, my schedule was basically every time Esme fed, I pumped. So in the first 6 weeks, it's so important to not miss any pumps, because your milk hasn't regulated. After 6 weeks, your milk regulates, which means basically once you kind of establish that supply, unless you consistently miss a pump, like, your milk won't stop. So for me, I was pumping, Esme was fed 3 hourly, so I think that's 8 times a day, possibly 7 or 8 times. I think it's 8 times a day. So every 3 hours I express. So even in the night, I was feeding Esme 3 hourly anyway, because she was tube fed, and she wasn't necessarily waking up for every feed in the night, just because she is tired, and she doesn't necessarily always get hunger cues because of being tube fed, and obviously it is fed 3 hourly, so she's not left to get hungry. So every 3 hours in the night when she first came home, I was expressing. So I would literally get up, feed her, which took half an hour, because obviously the pump would take half an hour to feed her, and then I would then get her back to sleep, which she has been pretty good at getting back to sleep. Normally I put her down and she pretty much goes straight back to sleep. Obviously the first early days and the first few months or so were not the same, but luckily ever since she's been like that. But I think that after I'd like fed her and stuff, I would literally have half an hour or 15 minutes to pump there. So then I would pump for 15 minutes. I would then be up in total of an hour or more, because by the time I'd got back to sleep, I've literally been up for over an hour, and then it is only 2 hours to her next feed, just because she was fed 3 hourly still. She is still on a 3 hourly schedule at the minute, which is really tough sometimes, but I don't know when we'll be extending that, just because her volume of milk is so small because of her being tube fed. She can't tolerate that much. So yeah, at 5 months we still are on 3 hourly feeds in the day. We have managed to cut it down at night time, but if anyone's interested in that a bit more, I am happy to do a separate video on her feeding, because I suppose that is a completely different topic, like 3 hourly feeds and stuff like that. 5 months is still quite hard, but if anyone is interested in NG2 feeding and stuff like that, then let me know. So getting back to exclusive pumping, because I keep going off on tangents. Basically, for the first 6 weeks, I literally didn't miss a pump. There was like once or twice, say if I went to Sam's mum's or something, there was once or twice I would not take my pump and miss one pump, but I would never miss more than one, because after one, like if you exclusive pump, you know your boobs literally are solid and it hurts, so you can't really miss more than one. And even now at 5 months in, I don't consistently miss more than one in a row, just because it's uncomfortable, and like you just can't move your arms, and you just become so engorged, it's painful. So that was what I did for the first 6 weeks. And obviously in the first 6 weeks you don't really leave the house too much anyway, because you've got a new baby, and obviously add into the mix the pandemic as well. So we Sam was on furlough for almost the first 5 months of Esme's life, so I was really lucky, because if he went back to work sooner, I really don't know if I would have continued to express, just because obviously when I'm expressing, I can't have Esme at the same time, just because you can't hold a baby and hold the pumps at the same time. So one of the hacks I did is I had like just a normal bra, and basically I just cut like 2 circles that were quite like smaller than the pump heads, so then the pump heads could literally slide in and go like that. So don't look at this too much, because I have to choose that it's got milk in, but basically say if I cut the hole on the bra like this big, then this like circle bit would go into the top, and then like the bra would like tie over it, so this bit would be like holding into the bra. So basically that meant that it wouldn't, like it was on your boob and it wouldn't kind of fall. So I think when I first started pumping, I was probably producing, I don't know, 30 to 40 mils off each breast, maybe. It wasn't like massive amounts, but Esme was only on, I think, 50 mils when she came home, so it wasn't too much. I was always producing enough for her and maybe like a little bit more. Now it's got to the point where I produce probably double what she needs each feed, so I have got a massive freezer stash. And I have donated quite a lot of milk too. I've donated to another mum whose baby's tube fed. I've also donated to another mum who's probably about half an hour away from me as well. She came to collect some milk, which was really nice. Yeah, and there is other times I've posted as well for other people if they want any milk. I am at the stage now where I'm kind of thinking about keeping my freezer stash for Esme, because I don't want to continue pumping forever. I don't know whether I'm going to make it to a year. I just don't know, to be honest. Like, I have cut my pumps down quite a lot recently. I'm still getting more than enough milk to feed out, and I've still got a massive freezer stash, so I'm really not sure how it's going to go, and I'm a bit nervous about weaning off the pumping because I'm worried about mastitis and things like that. But I need to really think about how long I'm going to go for. But I suppose, like, so the first tip is really what I was saying is don't miss pumps too much in the early days. Once your supply is established, you can easily miss one pump every, say, like I would always miss, like normally say if I fed her at 9, 12, 3, 6, 9, 12, I would usually miss either the 12 or the 3 o'clock feed in the afternoon. Like obviously she would be fed, but I wouldn't pump just because we would go out somewhere. So later on in my pumping journey, probably about 2 months into it, I did invest in the LV pumps. I did buy 2 just because they are completely wireless, so you put them in your bra and you pump on the go. So that became really handy for me when we were going on walks and like a day out or something, because I could literally pop them in my bra and pump in the car or wherever I could do anything. Like I could hold Esme at the same time. It just made things so much easier. It was like, it's not the easiest to hold a baby whilst they're in there because obviously they are like a bit bulky, but it's so much easier than holding like a normal pump. So yeah, that's what I did, and it just helped so much. It meant that like when it wasn't restricting me to sitting on my bed and pumping. Not that my pumps are like plugged in anyway, but you couldn't really carry around. So like this is my Spectra. It's plugged in. So it's not, I haven't had this for too long, but oh. So I didn't have this in the early days. I've only had this for the last I think I got it end of August, start of September, so not too long. But you wouldn't really carry this around with you like in the car or something. It's a bit bulky, and obviously it's quite a lot of money, so you don't want to break it. But yeah, so summing all of that up, the first tip is to like be quite strict on yourself, although don't put yourself under too much pressure because the first 6 weeks of having a baby is so hard anyway. But definitely if you really want an exclusive pump and you're set on it, really try not to miss any pumps in the first 6 weeks, just because like your milk is so important and you really need to pump hard just to keep that supply up. The second tip is stay hydrated. That's probably quite an obvious one, I suppose, but for me, like I've really noticed on days where I don't drink too much, my milk supply drastically drops. Not to the point where I haven't got enough milk, but like the more you drink, the more milk you have. So basically I have like a big juice bottle. You've probably seen it in other videos, I'm not too sure. But at night time, so when I come upstairs to feed, well, I bring Esme upstairs about 8 o'clock at night, and then I have a full bottle and I drink that between 8 and probably like 10 p.m. and then I go and fill that up before midnight, and then basically I drink that bottle through the night. So every time I get up in the night to feed Esme, I drink half a bottle or something just to keep myself hydrated, because obviously I'm still pumping in the night. So yeah, everywhere I go, if I leave the house, everywhere I go, I take a bottle of squash. So definitely be mindful of staying hydrated. So another tip is something that maybe you don't know, but to empty each pump. So every time you pump, say if I was pumping for 15 minutes and at 12, say like at 10 minutes, nothing else was coming, like I was getting no more milk in the pump, you still need to do 5 minutes extra after each pump to make sure there's nothing left, because there might still be like a little bit more that hasn't come out. So definitely every time you see that you're starting to pump nothing, go for another 5 minutes. And one of the tricks to make sure you're emptying is after you finish pumping, turn it off, wait a few minutes and turn it back on and try and see if there's anything left, because that will just get a little bit more. There's another tip as well. You could also hand express. So when you finish pumping, you could give it a few minutes and then you could try and hand express like into a bottle or something just to see if there's anything left, because sometimes like, I've stopped expressing and think like I'm empty, and I can actually get like a good, I don't know, 20-30 mils out of from hand expressing, and that's not really going proper all out hand expressing either. That's just literally a half-hearted quick one in the bath. Like I don't really like hand expressing. I don't find it very quick. I don't find it very comfortable. Like it can make you quite sore. But that's definitely worth trying. Like for me, being completely honest, I don't really empty. Like I make sure, not every time, but almost every time that I pump, I make sure there's nothing left. So I'll pump, say if I'm pumping for 15 minutes in total, I'll pump for like 12 minutes and there'll be like nothing left, but I still go an extra minute or two. But it's not practical with a baby. Like it is so hard, so really don't put yourself under too much pressure again. But that is just a tip that if you're really interested, it's definitely worth trying, because like I said, I have noticed that if I stopped pumping, I can still get an extra couple of mils out by hand expressing, and I know that not everybody has got such a good supply. So if you're really desperate and every meal counts, definitely try that method. And for me, like I am a massive oversupply, I've got so much milk, so it's definitely worth trying if you need that extra boost. So another tip for me is, like I said, I think I briefly mentioned it, but setting alarms. So when Esme first came home from hostel, I was so tired, but every 3 hours through the night I set alarms. I don't anymore, but I did, just to make sure that I was getting up to pump, because even if Esme wasn't waking up for feeding and I missed a feed slightly, I really need to pump through the night, just because every time you pump in the night, that is when your hormones are the highest. So your milk is going to be the most concentrated with the best, I don't know, like vitamins or whatever. I don't really know what it's called, but your milk will be the best quality in the middle of the night. So I think it's probably about the 2 or 3 a.m. pump that is the best quality milk. So it's really important kind of not to miss that one, to be honest. For me, I probably did that up until about 4 months maybe. So more recently I've been dropping pumps as I've dropped feeds for Esme. So I really wanted to drop the night feeds for Esme, not completely but just down, because like I said, we were still feeding every 3 hours and it's just too much. So now our schedule is we feed her about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and then I was feeding her at midnight. So I'd pump at midnight, obviously I'd pump at 9, I'd pump at midnight, and then when she woke up about 4ish, I'd pump it then, and then again I'd pump at like 7 or 8 whenever she woke up in the morning. So we have now dropped the midnight feed. She is over 5 months now, and she wasn't waking for it. We was always tube feeding her in her sleep, so I really just wanted to wean her off that and see what happened. So now I feed her at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and then usually pump about 9:30, 10, and then I won't pump then until she wakes up. So I go to sleep before midnight now. I don't feed her at midnight. So she usually wakes up anywhere between, I'd say anywhere between 2 and 4 for a feed. So I'll feed her then, and obviously after she's fed, like for the half an hour, like I said, she will go back down and I will pump for 15-20 minutes. I do notice that because I'm going such a longer stretch, I have to pump for longer. So 10-15 minutes sometimes isn't quite enough. I have to pump for 15-20 minutes just to make sure I'm empty, because obviously my boobs are a bit fuller because I've gone for a longer time, and I do only go 3 hours in the day, so going like longer at night means I've got more milk to pump. And then after the 4, 8, half 2, 3, 4, whatever time she wakes for that feed, she then goes anywhere between 6:30 and 8 in the morning, and then when I feed her then I will pump at the same time. So at night, like I said, I feed her and then I pump after, but in the morning, if she's sitting in her chair that you'll see in my other video, she's got like a Fisher Price sitting up chair. If she sits in that watching telly in the morning feeding, because she's stupid, she can feed in the chair, I pump watching her then, just so I know that once I've finished her milk's finished, and then we can get on with our day. Like she's not crying for me to have her because I'm pumping. So normally in the morning I do use my Spectra pump. So I'll use my Spectra pump all through the night and then most of the day if I'm at home. So like I said, I have got the LV pumps as well, so I do use them sometimes when I'm out. I think I probably didn't use them for about a month or 2 just because they were just annoying me. But I've started to use them this week. I've used them every day this week, and I actually forgot how much I really like them. So I am probably going to do a video of like a review on my LV pump if anyone's interested. They are quite expensive pumps, but they are definitely worth it, I would say. But I'm happy to go into more detail and do a video on that if anyone is interested. So I suppose in regards to freezing the milk, once you express, you can keep your milk in the fridge for up to 5 days. So if you're not queasy about seeing milk, this is basically what I've just pumped now. So I've pumped about 250 mils approximately. So that was just from one pumping session. And when did she last feed? Yeah, so I didn't miss a pump either. So she fed at 11:30 and I pumped at 11:30, and this was from she fed at 10:30. This was from 1:30. So yeah, I haven't missed a pump today. I think I've just pumped probably about an hour late, so I've still done it. It's just an hour late on time, like than it should have been, but I've still got about 250 mils, which is pretty average for me. I usually get this, and then in my night feeds I'll probably get this and another bottle like halfway. So that is from each feed in the night, because obviously, like I said, I'm getting more milk because I'm going for longer. So it's not always that your body produces more if you miss the milk, the pumping. But I think just on this, like if you empty every feed, then your body's more likely to produce that much milk because it knows that you need it. So similarly, if in them 6 weeks you missed a pump, your body would think it doesn't need to pump that much because your baby's not feeding, so it will stop cutting out. It will cut out that pump, and your body just won't produce that milk at that time. So for me, I think my body is definitely adjusting overnight, because although I'm still producing quite a lot of milk, I'm definitely producing less at night now because I'm missing out 1 or 2 feeds. So if you think about it, I'm missing the midnight feed and then the 6 a.m. feed, because now she feeds at like 7:30, 8 instead of 9. I'm missing out the 6 a.m. feed as well, so I've actually cut out 2 night feeds now, which is amazing. But yeah, so my body's definitely producing a little bit less, but like I said, I've still got so much milk, it's unreal. So like I said, you can keep your milk in your fridge for 5 days. and then in the freezer it can stay, if it's like a chest freezer and it's not open too much, it can stay for 6 months to 6 months. It can definitely stay in your freezer for 6 months. I don't know if you deep freeze it, it can stay for a year. You'll have to research that actually, because I'm not 100% sure, I can't remember. But what I'm doing is rotating my milk. So basically I've still got some of the colostrum and stuff from Special Care when Esme was in there, because even back then I overproduced. So everything that I've got from there, like I brought home so many back, like I brought home like a massive carry bag of milk from Special Care just from the week and almost 2 weeks that Esme was in. So I've still got a bit of that colostrum left, which every so often I have got some out of freezer to use. But then every so often, like, I donate my oldest milk. So I donated like a lot of my June and July milk to people, and at the minute I think in my freezer all I've got is literally September and October milk, maybe a bit of August milk, I'm not 100% sure. But it's not like, the milk I've got is not from that long ago, and I've got 2 big drawers full of milk, 1 little drawer, and then my fridge door freezer is full of milk, like literally rammed. So yeah, if anyone wants to see that, let me know. There's so much. But I just use the breast milk freezer bags. I've got, like, I use so much. I've got like Tommy Tippy, Medela, just anything, whoever. I just buy them secondhand on Facebook. So whoever's selling like a bag of breast milk bags that they don't actually need. So say if like you've bought them but they don't, like, the person no longer expresses and they're selling a full box or something, I literally just buy them for £1 or £2, because I know that for myself, like, you can't reuse them, and I'm not really using them anyway because I'm just donating it. So I'm just buying like the bags second hand, although they are new and in use, but I'm buying them like that just to save myself a bit of money, to be honest, because like I said, it's a bit of a waste buying them for something that I'm never going to use myself for Esme. And even then it just sits in the freezer in them, and then when you take it out of the freezer, defrost it, you put it in a bottle anyway, so it's not like they're ever going to touch the bags. So I think that's all of the tips for today. I've probably missed loads because it is such a big topic. Like, it's literally governed my life for almost 6 months now, and I knew nothing about exclusively pumping before I had Esme, just because I've never heard, I don't know anyone that exclusively pumps. Don't bark on. I don't know anyone that exclusively pumps, so I didn't know anything at all. So if anyone's got any questions though, feel free to comment down below, because I'll try and help, because like I said, I'm not an expert, but I've done 5 months of it now, so I'm quite knowledgeable, and obviously I've been there and had the experiences. I've had mastitis and stuff like that. So yeah, any questions about that, let me know, or clogged ducts or anything. But I really hope that you liked today's video anyway. I really know that I've waffled so much. I guess it's quite a passionate topic just because I'm living it. I'm still living it. I'm 5 months in, and I've been through some really tough times doing it. So I just wanted to really share the importance of it. Just don't stress yourself. Like, it is hard, and I've heard people say to me that I don't know how you do it, because 5 months of exclusive pumping is just hard work, and it's not something that I would normally choose to do, or it wouldn't be something that I would want to do, but unfortunately that's just what's happened, and I wouldn't change it, because I really enjoy that Esme has my milk, and obviously she's growing so well as well, so she's had all the good qualities from it too. So I'm going to continue for now and see how long it goes. But if you liked today's video, please give it a like and subscribe. Like I said, comment down below if you wanted to see any of them pump reviews as well, if you're interested in the LV pump or the Spectra. And I guess I hope to see you in my next video. Bye guys!